Hey guys, it's Lewis here. Welcome to a new video. And today, you see the title. We're talking about IndyCar growth again, I guess, because for some reason I care about the the rating numbers, but this isn't completely to do with IndyCar growth. I think a lot of people would actually like this idea outside of the growth section. So, anyway, idea piggybacks off my last video. But I think IndyCar could utilize this to move to increasing the viewership. And the only issue with this idea is, well, the charter agreement, because IndyCar, they even decided to make it worse recently because, well, teams can't do non Indy 500 part time schedules or part time seasons anymore, which I quite frankly think is ridiculous. And you have a guy like Mike Shank saying it's good, and without 3 years of part time running, he wouldn't be here. So, I don't know. What does he know? Anyways, I should probably introduce this idea. So you have a seat where other drivers from other series can jump in, similar to, let's say, the Trackhouse Project 91 program, which they haven't touched in a while. Anyways, I think it would be beneficial for fans and the sports alike. I mean, you got Chevy and Honda who've just been given one charter each, and Honda spent it on a car that was already going to enter the show. That's ridiculous. At least Catherine Legg's not a full time IndyCar driver, and Chevy used theirs on hers. But hey, in this case, you could use both charters that each engine manufacturer have to loop as a loophole around the charter agreement, and then they can funnel drivers from other series for select races. Although specifically because of that rule change, you might have to do Indy 500 only entries. So that's a bit disappointing, but allows us to do some great things. But say they repeal that rule or there was a loophole, it would be nice to see part-time campaigns from drivers who haven't driven an IndyCar before, like some of the drivers I mentioned in the previous video, or like Hocevar or something like that. And if Honda and Chevy don't want to do this, I think you should give it to Fox. You can give them a charter. Fox owns a part of the series, so theoretically, I think they'd work very hard to get eyes on the sport because ultimately they're the one who cares about numbers the most. And now you own a part of the sport. So, but I think it'd be ideal if Honda or Chevy had it because you could funnel like factory drivers into that seat and it'd flow a lot better. But whether who has it, Honda, Chevy, or Fox, I don't think, there obviously needs to be a team that will carry the operation for a year, or for that year, or for that Indy 500. Ideally, you'd love for it to be one of the best teams, as if you have great drivers coming over, you want them to have a good chance at winning the 500. But would that would be very hard to do in all reality. We know this. Say Team Penske, for instance. I know Roger owns the series, but Roger's never been fond of giving guys one-offs. He loves doing stuff if it actually approaches a goal. Chip might be more open to doing it. Andretti have done it for select drivers like Marco Andretti for a long time at this point, and they were going to do it for Colton this year. Thank God they didn't, because at least their qualifying cars are shite, and quite frankly, they've been saying, during practice, like practice on Monday, which is when I'm recording this, that hey, look, they have good race pace, but honestly, I think we need the track to be scorching hot. That day needs to be. They need to move the track to Texas or something, and then the Andretti's will be really good. But oh well, that's a bit off topic. um, I mean, see, a kind of another issue with this idea is that Honda slash Chevy would have to be willing to lease engines, and Honda's been stingy about that. Although, the Chevy engine's been better over quality pace, and most new entries have had to use Chevys due to Honda's stinginess. There also hasn't been much motivation for teams wanting to join the 500, and you saw that by this year. I mean, we had no bump day, and which kind of reminds me, a lot of people, they were surprised that oh, there wasn't any crashing during quali. The first crash of May, really, since we've been going to the speedway, happened today. But quali, oops. I think quali really comes out when you have bumping involved. I mean, because now you're not guaranteed to make it into the show. I mean, look at Newgarden's run. Newgarden's run was shambolic. And I don't remember where he qualified, but he was towards the back. Okay, I just checked, and Newgarden qualified 24th, so he wouldn't have been in the shootout, but considering they had one go only one run, that would have been extremely worrying for, ever since Newgarden set his lap, because quite frankly, everyone expected his run to be much better, but he'll be good in the race anyways. But it's stuff like that. If you don't know if you're going to make it into the show, Stingray Rob, I am certain he would have crashed the way that car was looking if there was a potential for him not to be in the show. Which, if you ask me, he probably wouldn't have been in the show because the car was all over the place. But I think when you don't have bump day, everyone can say, okay, we usually do 110. Maybe we do it 105% this time. Because you're guaranteed to make it into the show. So at this point, it's like, well, why risk putting your car on the wall if that's going to be your car for race day? You'd rather keep that around instead of being in a situation where, hey, if we don't run flat out, we might not be in the show. But anyways, there's a lot of off-topic conversation going on here. If IndyCar needs to incentivize, this Project 91 type program, this Project 91 seat, then the series should cough up some money. I mean, they do say you got to spend money to make money, and you cough up some money and you run a promotion. Although, we know money in motorsport doesn't matter as much as it even did like 10 years ago, but winning the Indy 500 does give you a big check. For instance, last year, Palou made $3.8 million, and Newgarden made nearly 4.5, but he also had the bonus from winning it back to back, because no one's done that since Castroneves some 20 years earlier. But look, I think if you want to make it even better, you want to sweeten the deal, you add an extra $5 million on top of that winning purse. Now, $5 million is a lot, which mainly it's that high because $5 million is a pretty nice equal number. I mean, it's not as weird as saying like 3 or something, but look, $9 million if you were to win the series, if you were to win the 500 in a one-off. Hell, extend this to all the teams that run only Indy 500 schedules for all I care. Look, $9 million for the driver. Yeah, that seat's gonna get a lot of inquiries. And look, it sweetens the deal a hell of a lot more. I mean, $9 million is more than what half the F1 grid makes, let alone other racing series. I mean, that is a big chunk of money. And guess what? Now you got hell of a lot promotion. Hey, $5 million? You can run so many promotions. $5 million prize on top of the purse if the driver that enters wins it. Hell, if the driver interest is so much, you could really try to run multiple cars if you had teams that were willing to do it, that actually are a sufficient team. They don't have like a $2 and a Snickers bar and will, I don't know, be 30 miles an hour slower or something. So you have tons of promotional material. You can have a bump day that could potentially be a very big bump day. And look at that. I fixed all the series issues. Okay, I didn't. But the Indy 500 would have a good viewing number. I believe so. And you'd hope that this would go on, throughout the season. But it would be really beneficial if you had a big oval after that. think of a Michigan or something. But we're not going to get on that topic because this is the end of the video. And I know I mitigated 1 point. And I also know people will be like, well, look at what happened at Vegas. Look, I think this car is a lot safer. And we saw what happened Monday. I mean, Rossi had a big crash. And from what it sounds like, he'll still be able to run in the race. And he's got only minor injuries. So I think it's a good idea. I don't think, well, racing is a dangerous thing, but I don't think tragedy will happen. And if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, subscribe. If you didn't, dislike the button, tell me why in the comment section below. I know this wasn't like a nice kart video or something. It's another opinionated video. But we'll see what I've got in store. And I'll see you later. Bye. Peace.